Welcome back. If you have ever finished PTE reading exam, checked your score and thought I don't understand what's happening right now. What was wrong? Your English felt correct? So this lecture is going to change a lot with that. Today we are going to slow down and look at the things very carefully. In fact, the three smallest words in English language that can help you score better in PTE. Let's understand the articles a and the and their use for the better understanding in PTE reading fill in the blanks. Most of the students skip them or overlook their importance. They feel too simple to matter. But in PTE reading, like fill in the blanks in both the categories, they can be of great help if you understand their use and how they are being used to trap you during an examination. These three words are often the most fastest and the reliable ways to determine the right answer. So from now on, you would simply use the grammar techniques around these articles rather than guessing and simply skipping the options again and again. So by the end of this lecture, you will not simply be guessing for the options. You will be looking at the grammar first and letting it lead you the way what kind of words belongs in the fill in the blank. And you will not be required to always look for the meaning because articles are going to assist you in that. So after this lecture, you will be able to read what an article is telling you and what are the words that will come after the articles. You will be applying 5 clear rules to eliminate the wrong options with confidence. You will be able to use the articles a and the by simply picking up the sound, and you have to stick to the video till the end because at the end I'm going to tell you the 3 basic mistakes students make when it comes to use of articles. So let's start with the basics. Rather than going straight for the techniques and tips, first of all we should understand what an article is and how and when they are used. So articles are the words that are used before the nouns, and English language has precisely 3 of them, a and the. And in English language, nothing else than the articles act in the same way. Although articles appear to be tiny words, but they're doing the great grammatical work. So even before you read the fill in the blanks, an article there is going to tell you about few things. Number one thing, is the noun countable? So things that you can count like an idea or a laptop or reports. Or the noun is uncountable like water or information. You can tell if the noun is singular or a plural. And the third rule, is the writer introducing something new in the text or he is simply referring back to some idea or a noun that has been used previously. So I would request to keep these 3 things in your mind because everything that I'm going to teach you in this lecture will be revolving around these 3 basic questions regarding the articles. So let's introduce yourself with the article a. Article a is used in front of a singular noun that is countable and begins with the consonant sound. For example, a laptop, a decision, or a habit. Now look at the article an. Article an is also used in front of a singular countable noun, but the word starting with a vowel sound. For example, an idea, an outcome, an error. Article da behaves differently. It is not simply restricted to singular or countable nouns. It works with singular nouns, plurals, countable nouns, uncountable nouns. Examples are on your screen. The managers, the evidence, the water. So what the signals is not number. It signals that noun is specific or has already been known to the reader. We'll come back and discuss this in detail in rule number 5. So rule number 1. Here is the first and the most reliable pattern. An article is always attached to a noun. So if you see an article immediately before a blank and there is no noun sitting at an other end of the fill in the blanks, the missing word itself is likely to be a noun. Here is an example in front of you on the screen. So article a indicates it's going to be a noun, launched is a verb, carefully is an adverb, effective is an adjective. So none of them can be used because a is indicating towards a singular noun. So your answer here is initiative. So here is an important thing to note. I haven't described what was the meaning of each word. By looking at the words and by estimating what each word is, we simply looked for a noun. Rule number 2 is easiest to apply, and it is also one of the fastest ways to remove the wrong options. You have to be sure that after a and an, it's always going to be a singular noun. It should be a countable, and it can never be a plural and an uncountable noun. And the examples are here for you to understand on your screen. Since the word a was there in the fill in the blank, so resources is a plural, it got eliminated. Guidance and feedback are uncountable noun, so that can't be in our option because of an article a. So the only option that we are left with is resource. Rule number 3, that is sometimes referred to as an article sandwich. And this rule number 3, it is a pattern that is being oftenly used in PTE reading fill in the blanks, and it most of the times catches the student off guard because it involves reading past the fill in the blank, not before the fill in the blank. Sometimes you will see the exact structure like article, the blank and the noun. For example, a dash policy. In this case, policy is a noun and it has already been placed over there. So there is a word that is missing and it cannot be a noun. And in English language, we do not usually stack the two nouns together. So a missing word has to be something that describes the noun, or simply we are referring to an adjective. Look at an example on the screen. So the options we have: policy is already a noun, flex is a verb, flexibility is an adverb. So they all get eliminated. So the only option we are left with is flexible, and yes, it can describe the policy as well. So you need to build a habit to solve the questions like this. So whenever you look at a blank before a noun and after an article, always read the few words past the blank, and this habit will simply allow you to remove a lot of mistakes while attempting fill in the blanks. Rule number 4 is not to look for spellings. You should look for the sounds. This is something that costs students a lot of marks because students who are attempting for the exam look for spellings, not the sounds. So to decide if you have to use a or an entirely depends on the sound, not the spellings. So look at examples. An hour. Hour starts with the silent word H. So the sounds that appears in the beginning of the word is O, that is a vowel. Here are few other examples to read for. For example, a European trip. European starts with E, but it is pronounced as European, a consonant sound. So we are not required to use an before European. A one-time offer. One starts with a vowel word, that is O. But since it is pronounced as one, and there is no vowel sound in the beginning, so you'll have to use a. I would highly suggest to make a list of those words that have vowel sounds in the beginning and you memorize them so that you don't have to fret a lot about them. You can simply identify them in your examination and you'll already be sure what to use ahead of them. Now let's discuss the use of the article the. I have talked a little about this in the beginning. The very first way to identify if an article the is to be used if there is a repetition. For example, if the noun has already been used using the articles a or an, but the next time during the passage if the same noun is used, you will simply be using an article the because the reader has already read that word before. Here is an example for you on the screen. Since the word committee appeared in the first sentence, it again appeared in the second sentence. So before the word committee, we have used the article the because it was already known to the reader. The second way to use article the is a little less obvious. It is difficult to pick. Sometimes a noun can be made specific in the very beginning without requiring any repetition at all. So look at the example now on your screen. It reads as, The findings of the report surprised investors. This is the first time that we are using the word findings, but an article appears in front of it. So we haven't used a or an before findings. What is the reason? Because here the noun is specific by definition, not by repetition. So read these lines carefully on your screen. Whenever you see a blank before the, or you are deciding between the or another article, ask yourself these two questions. Has this noun already appeared, or is a phrase right after making it specific on the spot? Either answer points you towards the. As promised, I told you that I'll be discussing the 3 mistakes that students usually make in choosing the words after an article. So read these 3 rules carefully. I'll be placing them on screen one by one. Mistake number 1. You use tunnel vision. You only read the words directly before the fill in the blanks and you miss out the noun sitting just after it. So it is requested, always read a few words past the blank before you decide. Mistake number 2. You don't look for sounds, you always go for spellings. Choosing a or an based on the first letter instead of the first sound. So please make sure, say the word first in your head to decide if you are going to use an article a or an. Mistake number 3 is you stop looking for the grammar rules when there are only 2 options that are left. Grammar will often narrow a blank down to 2 options of the same part of speech. What happens is grammar has done its job to help you identify which 2 are the relevant options or which 2 are the incorrect options. So the final decision this time will come from the meaning. So before I conclude, here are few things that I think are important to mention again. Articles are the 3 smallest words in English language, yet they are very important in this exam. They carry real information about number, about countability, and about what the reader already knows. The strongest PTE candidates are not those who have the biggest vocabulary, they are the ones who read the grammar first and allow the grammar to decide which options can be placed in the fill in the blanks. So I would again request, practice these rules weeks before your exam. Keep applying these rules again and again to the point they become your habit and they are automatic. Keep watching these videos. In the next video, I'll come up with a more informative topic that is going to help you survive a PTE exam. Not only survive, but help you score 79 or above in your examination. You can simply share this video with the people who are preparing for PTE examination. Your comments are very helpful in determining what sort of content that you need to watch. Thank you so much, and don't forget to like and subscribe the channel.